I appreciate you guys all joining, alhamdulillah, and jazakumullah khair, and I appreciate you guys waiting until we start. So without further ado, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I've studied this. I found it an interesting thing to study, the idea of this new age religion, this philosophy of energies and entities and laws of attraction, meditation and manifestation, and the ability to, elevate yourself through certain frequencies and vibrations to meet that of the universe, to attract whatever it is you want. I found this topic interesting because it contradicts the concept of qadr and the concept that Allah is al-Razzaq, Allah al-Qawi, Allah al-Mateen, Allah al-Khaliq, and all these other concepts that we have as fundamental truths within our religion. But when I posted a video last week saying that I was going to do this live and speak about these topics, there was a mixed bag of comments through my different social media outlets. Some saying you don't know what you're talking about, yoga is not demonic, it's spiritual truth, Islam is backwards, and I'll discuss some of these topics as we go along, inshallah. So the reason that I chose to speak about this is because there's always been an attack, and there always will be an attack on Islam and the Muslims, and this is a standard in the universe. Now, the reality is, if you had nothing of value, nobody would want to attack you. Nobody would care about you. You've got nothing worth taking, nothing worth attacking. So then we say, as Muslims, what is this thing of value that we possess? What does Islam possess that is so valuable that people or entities or organizations or groups or whatever the case is deem it necessary for them to attack this fundamental truth? And so it's difficult to kind of encompass that into one word, because Islam essentially is a deen. It's a way of life that covers everything from birth to death, everything in between, how to get married, how to eat, how to earn your money, how to earn your income, what you can and cannot wear, what you can and cannot do, what you should and should not do, how to, have relations with friends, with your spouse, with your children, how to raise your children, how to clean yourself, for example. Every aspect of our lives is covered and governed by this book that has been sent down by the Creator, your Creator and mine. It's a manual on how we should operate in this life. And who best to give us a manual than the one who created us himself? You see, subhanAllah, a very quick analogy is if you were to buy a car, right? Like say a Ford F-150, one of those nice trucks, and you ran to the gas station, or to you British folk, the petrol station, and you're trying to decide which type of petrol or which type of fuel to load into the car. The best answer would be found in the manual, because those who built the car, they would tell you what the car needs the most and how to optimize its efficiency to reach the best, version of the car possible, so that you can have it going for the longest period of time, take care of it as best way possible. And so all these answers are found in the manual. Similar to us, we have a manual, a script that's been given down to us that governs every aspect of our lives. And so in summary, then, we would say Islam is the ultimate truth. But what's interesting about saying that is everybody makes that claim. I mean, nobody goes around in whatever belief system they have that says, oh, I have falsehood or I have lies and I'm going to preach that. Everybody claims that they have the truth. And so then, now this is just a preface that I need to cover before going into this topic. We say, well, how do you decide what is true? How do you decide, with all these different claims and all these different groups and religions and belief systems and philosophies and all these other things that are going around, how do you decide that Islam is true? And why did you decide that? Now, by studying anything, really, the default is to implement a process of elimination, right? You would ask certain questions, fundamental questions, that should answer completely, without ambiguity, the necessary questions of life in terms of creation, the goal, the purpose, and so forth. And if you can find answers that address all these topics, all these different questions, without leaving room for ambiguity and self-interpretation that can be subjective and therefore manipulated for whatever purpose, whatever gain there is of this dunya, then you are on your way to finding that truth. Now that truth, for us as Muslims, we know that that is in the Quran. We know that that is in the Sunnah. We know that that is our deen entirely. For those non-Muslims, we ask Allah to guide us and to guide them to find that truth. And it is our obligation as Muslims to be ambassadors of that truth to others, because we are the representation of that book. We are the representation of that sunnah. And that's how that operates, right? And so we have a verse in the Quran that most of you are probably familiar with, in Surah Al-Imran. It says, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Today I have completed the religion upon you, and I have perfected my blessing on you. وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا, and I have selected Islam as the religion or the way forward for you. Then the question pops up. This is where it goes a little further. And it says, well, if your religion is so perfect, if your deen is so complete, and it answers every aspect of your life, why then do people, Muslims specifically, because this is who I'm addressing, right? Muslims specifically seek answers elsewhere, ask for guidance from other philosophies, and implement false ideologies. And that's interesting, you see, because that's a two-pronged attack. You have the internal and you have the external. Now, from the external, we're under attack, as I mentioned earlier, to break down and remove our honor and our dignity, to make us subservient to people, to organizations, to ideologies, to belief systems, so that these organizations and groups and belief systems can have control over us by removing our alignment with the Creator, to understand our purpose from the Creator, which is to worship. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْإِنسَ وَالْجِنَّ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And I have not created mankind and jinn kind except to worship me. But if you can deviate us from that straight path, then we are no longer in line with the Creator. We succumb, we become victims to our own whim, our own desire. And two of those main ones, and I've spoken about this in my Telegram channel the other day, were fear and greed. Right? If you notice, a lot of marketing campaigns, outside of conspiracy, outside of religion, marketing campaigns mainly focus on fear and greed. Fear of what you can have, but you're not getting there, or fear what you can miss out. For example, FOMO, everyone must have heard of that. Or greed of what you should have, or what you should want, and what you should become, and what you should do, and so forth. So we always want these things, but we're always afraid to lose others. And so this balance here, these emotions, if we let them get out of play, out of control, there are certain people, groups, and not in a negative way, not in a sinister way. They are just trying to sell to you. They will jump and bank on that and try to take advantage of your understanding of that to make sure that they make a sale, right? That's from the external side. So we always have that attack. From the internal side, though, we have a weak nafs, right? وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. And man was created in a state of weakness. So we do have a weak nafs that is, subject to whim and desire and to influence and all these kinds of things out there. And we are meant to maintain it and control it and keep it in balance so that we are the ultimate controllers of that, and we can decide how our nafs operates and not the other way around. And so a weak nafs, coupled with a severe lack of understanding of our deen, where we have reduced our deen to basic rituals, right? These rituals, for example, like our prayer. Now, our prayer is a fundamental element of our deen. But when we see prayer as just a form of exercise that we have to do, and most of us perhaps, let me correct that. Some of us, let's be more optimistic on this, some of us don't even understand why we pray. We don't even understand the elements of it. Why do we do ruku' in that way? Why do we do sujood in that way? Why do we recite certain verses? Why are we doing all of this? Or, for example, outside of prayer, if you're angry, the sunnah says to go do wudu. Why? Why splash water on your face? What's that going to do for you, right? So we've reduced our deen to a series of physical activities, rituals, and those rituals and those physical activities are usually confined to the house. Right, to a small area where nobody can see you, because our deen is 1400 years old. And so it doesn't fit in with today's modern society. It doesn't fit in. So if you go outside and you start practicing your deen as you are meant to be, you are seen as a stranger, somebody weird. You just don't fit in. Something's off about you. I mean, why aren't you taking interest like everybody else? Why aren't you coming down to the bar or to the pub and having a drink? It's just fun. We're just, having fun. Why aren't you shaking hands or hugging the opposite gender? I mean, everybody has a girlfriend and a boyfriend and all these what's going on? Why are you being weird? It's the 21st century, man. Come on, get with the times. Your deen is kind of outdated. So it doesn't apply outside the front door. But in the house, fine. If you have to go do these, 5 prayers or splash water in your face for whatever reason, perhaps because your parents raised you like that and you're just kind of following suit, or you do believe, somewhere deep down, yeah, there is a God and I believe in him and I don't want to go to hell, I don't want to be punished, so I'm just going to do these things. But outside of that, no, there's two separate existences. There's a private where you can practice your deen, and then there's the outside, the external world where you need to fit in and you need to kind of mesh in with society, and that becomes problematic. And so these two elements, the internal and the external attacks that we have on ourselves, allow us to become victim to these other ideologies and these other philosophies, because we do not have a strong foundation with which we can stand on, right? Now, there's a lot more to cover on this, but that's just a preface I wanted to share before we get to what we want to discuss, inshallah. If we have a lack of understanding of the essence of our deen, what happens is when somebody comes with eloquent speech and a nice marketing campaign and seemingly gives you answers to what you need the most when you are desperate, Perhaps it is money. Perhaps it is health. Perhaps it is relationships. And these are the three main elements, right, on the human psychology. If somebody seems to give you some sort of an answer, the mysteries of the universe can unravel and unfold so that you can manipulate them or mold them however you see fit. And you can get these answers because you go on YouTube and you go on TV and you see those successful people, and they are doing these things, right? These activities, these rituals, these meditations and these yogas, and they have all these answers, and they're not necessarily Muslim. They're not subscribed to the Islamic religion. They're not there. So what's going on? And somebody comes and says, well, there's a way, there's a few answers to all these weird things that you can't really put your hand on. And the reason we can't put our hand on is because we do not understand the deen. So that's from the internal side. And then the external comes in and takes advantage of that. So I'm just trying to wrap that up for you right there. And so one of these subtle philosophies and deceitful ideologies that have snuck their way out of the darkness and straight from the devil's playbook, and I mean that quite literally, and I'll cover that in a minute, inshallah, is the idea of the New Age religion, right? The New Age philosophy. Now, it's not new at all. It's quite ancient. It's been around for a very, very long time, several thousand years. But every now and then, it pops its head up, and it's wrapped up with a different wrapping paper, a nice ribbon on it, and it's addressed to the people of that time. It's like, here you go. Here's a new version of this. It sounds cool. It sounds interesting. And it's nothing like what was said in the past. So let's kind of explore this, because we always want to explore the unknown, right? Curiosity killed the cat. And so somebody presents this new thing. It's like, oh, hang on a second. He might be onto something, or she might be onto something. Let's go further and let's see what they're on about. And so it's not limited with the New Age philosophy, the new energy concept, and the whole idea that energies and the cosmic universe and the cosmic energies and so forth, it's not limited to energy alone. There's a few concepts within that, and that's what we're going to try to discuss today, inshallah, like the law of attraction, the law of abundance, the law of success, yoga and chakras, for example, access bars. Access bars is something that I came across recently, and I found that quite interesting. I'm going to read out a specific paragraph because I kind of copy-pasted this. The access bar therapy is a form of alternative therapy that involves gentle touch and manipulation of specific points on the head, known as bars. The bars are said to correspond to different areas and aspects of life, such as healing, body, control, awareness, creativity, power, aging, and money, and among others. Now, as I go through this, as you progress with me, you'll start to understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go through a few definitions, I'm going to go through a few philosophies, and it's all going to come together, inshallah, because I kind of presented it in that way, but you're just going to have to bear with me as I kind of go through these different segments, and they'll all come together, inshallah. And for those of you, whoever's commenting, my apologies, I'm not able to read the comments. I'm kind of going through this, and inshallah, I'll get to it. If there is a comment, you could either, if I miss it, you could repin it, or if I'm not there, or if the live ends or whatever, just DM me directly, and inshallah, we could discuss it. And so some of the preachers and practitioners of this philosophy, this New Age religion, in the West specifically, now not the Muslims, because there is in the Arab world, the Muslim world, there are people who preach this under the guise of this is Islamic, and we'll get to that one as well, inshallah. But those outright ones who are not Muslims in the Western world, they will come out and tell you, and I went on their websites, I watched their videos, I did the whole thing, and they'll come out and tell you, yeah, we're dealing with entities here. We're talking to spirits, we're talking to lost souls, however you want to, phrase it. They're talking to entities outside of this world, outside of the physical world. So they're talking to the jinn and the shayateen. That's who they're talking to. And they're coming out straight, saying it to you straight up. This is what's going on. This is who we're dealing with. Take it or leave it. So they're quite honest. And there's others who aren't so honest. And we'll talk about those guys, inshallah, soon. And this whole ideology is refuted right off the bat by religions and by scientists. So if you want to go on the science side, physicists and all those guys have said this is non-existent. It's a pseudoscience. Just ignore it. It's not real. And then on the religious side, especially Islam, has refuted this entirely because it goes against the fundamental aqidah. Now, a few of the interesting side effects of adopting the philosophies, right? The idea of energies and chakras and law of attraction and so forth, a few of these ideologies, some of the side effects of adopting those philosophies into your lives are. One of them is the cutting off of silat al-rahim. Now, silat al-rahim is the bond that we have with our family, right? Silat al-rahim is like your brother, your mother, your sister, your daughter, your spouse, and so forth. Silat al-rahim. Now, how that happens is because we believe in energies. Now, we don't, but in this philosophy, because we believe in these energies, some people have a negative energy, and some people have a positive energy. These are the dual concepts of energy that exist, right? Everything's in duality. And so those with negative energy, cut them out of your life. You don't need them because they're just going to bring you down. They're going to affect you negatively. They're going to bring down your aura. They're going to affect you. And this is a problem because that could get to your health, that could get to your wealth, that could get to your happiness, to your relationship, to your joy. It misaligns you because they bring about this negative energy. And we're going to talk about all this, inshallah. And so Silat al-Rahim is usually attacked right off the bat because, well, you don't need those people, so just cut them out of your life. Islam says to focus heavily on Silat al-Rahim. Now, what's interesting with Silat al-Rahim is that's your close family, right? Your immediate family. And a lot of problems come from the immediate family because there's a certain sense of responsibility and duty that you have towards your family. You can't just cut them away. Even maintaining Silat al-Rahim is one of the sources or one of the asbab of rizq in Islam. One of the ways to gain your or improve or increase your sustenance is to maintain a good silat al-rahim with your family members. To not just say, well, that guy, he's off his whatever, let's just ignore him, cut him out of my life. I don't need him because he's affecting me negatively. No, you're meant to maintain that relationship with respect. You don't bow down, you don't do any of that stuff, you don't compromise your principles and your values, but you maintain that silat al-rahim. This side says just cut him off. Number 2, feminism. And that's a big topic, and perhaps some people will get a little sparked up with this, but we can talk about it, inshallah. The idea that you're empowered and you don't need anybody, especially men. I mean, just cut them out. You are the creator of your own reality. You don't need anybody else. So you can focus on yourself. And this is one aspect of feminism, and that's for another day, inshallah. See, our priority as Muslims is tawheed, right? La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Because we will not survive on the day of judgment, illa man atallahu biqalbin salim, except for those who come to Allah with a heart that is salim, that is clear of any of these doubts, any of these misconceptions, any of these evils. So when we're in the grave, we have our main concern, and may Allah protect us. Our main concern in the grave is the 3 questions that we get asked. Who is your creator? Who is your God? What was your religion? What was your deen? And who is your messenger? Who is your prophet? And subhanallah, imagine the situation. Ma'adallah, may Allah protect us all. You go up to Allah on the Day of Judgment and you have this idea of, I dealt with jinn, I dealt with sihr and black magic and sorcery and witchcraft and wizardry and all kinds of things, and I believed in shirk because I associated partners with Allah, that the universe can conspire and do these things. I have energies that are working for me and against me, and you've taken all these things out of the deen that are not part of the deen and actually contradict the fundamentals of the deen. Again, I keep saying fundamentals because this isn't an abstract concept. This is the fundamental aqidah of the deen that is being attacked here. And we go to Allah with that. I mean, our deen is complete. Our deen is simple. Our deen is quite literally the truth. And we're looking for answers outside of that. And there's a problem there. And so, what is the New Age religion? Now, like I said, it's not new. It's ancient. It's pagan. And it's coupled with demonic inspiration. And I'm going to talk about that in just 1 second. And has created an intricate web of ideologies. This works with jinn, witchcraft, black magic, and some of the references used are demonically inspired books. From the Arabic side, and I'll talk about that later on, there's a book called Shams al-Ma'arif al-Kubra. Do not read it, do not open it, do not touch it. It is pure black magic and sihr, and the author of that book was deemed as a devil worshipper by Ibn Taymiyyah. So don't even touch that book. But that's one of the ones that are used in the Arab world, right? Now let's go to the Western side. I'm going to cover now, all the way for the next bit, I'm just going to cover the Western side of this New Age religion. Once I'm done with that, we're going to go into the Eastern side of the New Age religion. And then we'll talk about how these two come together and what's going on right now. All right, so this is the flow we're going with, inshallah. So one of the most recent references is a lady called Dr. Helen Schuckman. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. She was a psychologist. I'm going to read from my notes because I can't remember all of this. She was a psychologist best known for her book, A Course in Miracles, and you can look this up, which she claims to have been written through divine inspiration from Jesus alayhi salam, from Isa alayhi salam. Her parents were both half Jewish, and she later on became an atheist. I'm just giving you a bit of a biography of who this person was. In the 60s, she wrote the book, A Course in Miracles, and had consistent inspiration from this inner voice telling her what to write. The underlying premise is that the greatest miracle is the act of simply gaining a full awareness of love's presence in a person's life. And she became super famous when she was on the Oprah Winfrey Show in the 90s, and millions of her books were sold. And a lot of Christian preachers reject the book entirely, this is Christian preachers, as demonic and anti-biblical, because they are blurring the distinction. Pay attention, because this is the aqidah of the New Age religion. What is the book not to read? I'll not tell you. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you that answer. Because the aqidah is this, wahdat al-wujud, and we'll cover that in a minute. But they are blurring the distinction between the creator and the created, and forcefully supporting the occult of the New Age forcefully supporting the occult and New Age worldview. This is from Christian preachers. They are saying this. Next, you have the law of attraction, and this is kind of the crux of what we're going to get into. So the law of attraction, you must have heard this, right? You can attract whatever you want in the universe, and you do that through manifesting and through meditating, by aligning your energies and your vibrations with that of the universe, to have the universe, because the universe is conspiring to give you whatever you want. The universe, not Allah. The universe, its creation, is all working in your favor, but you have to allow yourself to align, to elevate, and to become this person of spiritual awakening so that you can have all these things in your life, abundance and success and happiness and marriage and so forth, only through the law of attraction. So let's understand what the law of attraction is, because this is a big one, and this is kind of one of the main aqidas of this whole philosophy, right? The law of attraction was founded by Esther and Jerry Hicks. They were a couple. Jerry Hicks, I believe, died in 2011, so about 10, 15 years ago. His wife, Esther Hicks, still runs around, and she preaches all this stuff, and you can go on their website. It's called AbrahamHicks.com, I believe, Abraham-Hicks, something like that, and they'll preach all the stuff. They go around giving tours and spreading all this kind of stuff and preaching all this law of attraction, right? So let's understand what this is. Who was Esther? Esther is the lady who's still around, right? She was a channeler, a medium with jinn, and her and her husband were the main inspiration of the book, The Secret. Now, you must have heard of this book. It was written by Rhonda Byron, I believe. She was an Australian documenter or author. I don't know what she was. She wrote this book, and she pushed out a whole documentary. You must have seen the documentary about 10, 15 years ago. It came out. It was all over the place. Everybody was going nuts because this gave answers to all the mysteries of the universe. And it was so beautifully wrapped, and it was so intricate and mysterious. And it was just like, whoa, there's a divine secret here that we need to kind of unfold. That was the book, The Secret. Okay? That was inspired by the works of Esther and Jerry Hicks. Okay? Okay. The main philosophies were the law of attraction, which is thoughts vibrating with the universe. That's number one. 2, the science of deliberate creation. Thoughts manifest reality. 3, the art of allowing, attracting people. These are the 3 main philosophies, among others, but these are the 3 main ones. Now, this was, again, through channeling with the jinn. So they are communicating with the jinn. And I'm not making this up. This is not me pulling it out of the bag. I'm going to read out bits of their book, all right, and on their website. So let's go through this. What's interesting to note, just on a side note, is the word law. They say law of attraction, as if this is sunnat al-hayah, as if this is 100% fact of creation, that this is a law. Again, you need to understand that this is a scam of an ideology. It's a falsified philosophy inspired by demonic entities, shaitan and jinn, and they wrap it up with words that are very subtle. So you say it's the law. And it's like, oh, so it must be true. I mean, it holds to some truth. It's a law. So you don't just say, well, it's the theory of attraction. No, if you say law, it's more firm, and people are more willing to accept it. So the law of attraction. So I started looking into who this Esther lady was. I was like, okay, law of attraction, the book The Secret, who's this Esther person? And when I watched a couple of her videos, she kept referring to herself as we. Like, well, we are doing this, and we are doing that, and we, and she's alone on stage. And I was like, either you're full of yourself or you're talking about your team. I don't know what's going on. It was a little confusing. So I started going a little further. I went to their website, Abraham-Hicks.com. I think that's the website. You can type it on Google, you'll find it. And the first video, right on their homepage, is about an hour long, 59 minutes or so. And she's on there, and she says, hello, I'm Esther Hicks, da-da-da. For those of you who don't know, this may be a little difficult, but for those of you who know, I'm going to finally bring out Abraham so you guys can meet him and you can talk to him. And I was like, great, I'm going to meet this Abraham guy. Because when on another one of her videos, she kept saying, oh, Abraham says and Abraham does. And I was like, who's this? I want to meet Abraham. Because I know Jerry Hicks died. Esther Hicks is standing here. Who's Abraham? So on that video, she will go into a trance. She does this weird thing with her eyes and her face. And then Abraham takes over. And it's talbis al-jinn. The jinn possessed her. Abraham, he takes over, and now he starts speaking through her because she's a channeler, she's a medium, right? This is the preacher of the law of attraction, okay? And here's one of the teachings of Abraham. Abraham is the jinn, okay? Just to clarify, Abraham is the jinn. He is the devil, the jinn of the devil's side. He's an entity. This isn't Islam. This isn't a religion, Christianity, Judaism, Hindu. No, this is straight up from the jinn's mouth. Okay? And one of the teachings is you are an extension of source energy, and you are in this body and can create anything you want by vibrating to the right frequency of the universe. Okay? So remember the law of attraction and the energies and stuff? Who's preaching this right now? The jinn. This is Abraham himself speaking. Not Esther, not Jerry, not some guy, not a clown. This is the jinn talking. Okay? So who is Abraham? On their website, and I've literally copy-pasted this. Abraham has described themselves as a group consciousness from the non-physical dimension. They have also said, we are that which you are. You are the leading edge of that which we are. We are that which is at the heart of all religions. And Esther, the lady, calls Abraham infinite intelligence. Infinite. Remember the whole universe and the energies, and you try to open your chakra so that you can elevate to become one with the infinite intelligence. Well, here's the infinite intelligence. The 10 main teachings of Abraham are, now this may get a little long-winded, but this needs to be covered so you can understand fully what's going on. And this will all tie in, inshallah. I'm still on the western side. The next segment will be the eastern side, and then we can see how this all comes in. So the main teachings of Abraham are, and I'll just zip through these real fast. You are a physical extension of that which is non-physical. 2, you are here in the body because you chose to be here. 3, the basis of your life is freedom, and the purpose of your life is joy. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْإِنسَ وَالْجِنَّ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And I have not created mankind and jinn kind except to worship. Here, your purpose is joy, not worship, among all the other wrong ones. Number 4, you are a creator. You create with your every thought. Okay? What happened to Allah al-Khaliq? Number 5, anything that you can imagine is yours to be or do or have. Number 6, as you are choosing your thoughts, your emotions are guiding you. Number 7, the universe adores you for it knows your broadest intentions. The universe is alim. Okay, they're taking sifat Allah, the descriptions of Allah, the qualities of Allah, and they're applying it and subscribing it to the universe, to jinn, to whatever else you want, the energies and so forth. Okay? Relax into your natural well-being, all is well. Number 9, you are a creator of thoughtways on your unique path of joy. Number 10, actions to be taken and possessions to be exchanged are byproducts of your focus on joy. 11, you may appropriately depart your body without illness or pain. And this is in Arabic called al-isqat al-najmi, and you can look into that, and that's a load of nonsense, Islamically. 12, you cannot die. You are everlasting life. When we get to the eastern part, remember the idea of karma and reincarnation. And we'll cover that on the eastern, because it's the same jinn. It's the same shaitan governing both sides of the world. The eastern side and the western side, it's the same garbage. It's being pushed out on both sides. Okay? So you cannot die. You are everlasting life. A few other philosophies I found on their website about Abraham and the law of attraction. Pay attention to this. There is nothing that exists outside of this vibrational nature. There is nothing that exists. So that means, because Allah is above the skies, Allah is outside of this universe, right? So there is nothing that exists. So therefore there is no Allah, ma'adallah. And if He's within the universe, ma'adallah, then He is of vibrational nature. So there's a problem right there. Number 2, there is nothing that is not managed by the law of attraction. And so again, if you want to apply that to Allah, you're applying your little laws. They are not laws. You've called them a law to make it look like it's legit, and you've applied that to Allah. Or you've removed Allah from the equation. In either way, you're in you're in dangerous waters. But before we go further, so that's kind of just a wrap-up of Esther and Jerry Hicks. That's their setup. Before we go further now, I need to go a step back. What possessed, and pun intended by the way, what possessed Jerry and Esther Hicks to go down this route? I mean, why not just sit back, put a movie on, rather than let's go create a whole new kufr ideology and preach it to the world? I mean, what possessed them? And that's what's interesting, is trying to go back to the source. Where did this all really start? And so when I started looking into this, reading through their books, and one of their books is called Money and the Law of Attraction, and in the preface, somewhere on page 15, and I'll quote you the exact pages as well. This whole story is written. We go back to the 80s, more specifically 1983. Jerry, the husband of Esther Hicks, right? So they were a couple, and they have their jinn called Abraham Hicks. So these three, this little trinity of jinn and shaitans, are the ones preaching law of attraction. So Jerry Hicks, in 1983, was very inspired by the book Think and Grow Rich, which was written by Napoleon Hill, which is a book on self-development, which we'll talk about, inshallah, as well, as to how that is used to push about these ideologies. Is a book on self-development, which he adopted in his life. He liked the philosophies, and it worked great for him, because he was able to change his mindset and have a better attitude and so forth. But as time progressed, he noticed that wasn't enough, because he noticed other people in the workshops applying the same principles, but it wasn't working out for him. So he was looking for more inspiration. He wanted something that could just bring back the life, because he wasn't he started to diminish in terms of motivation. It wasn't interesting anymore. Things weren't working out as he had planned and so forth. So he finds himself sitting in a library in Phoenix, Arizona, where I'm going to be, inshallah, in the next couple of weeks. So maybe I'll go to that library and see if I can find this book. And this is his words in his book. And he looks across, and on a shelf, he sees a book that says, Seth Speaks. He's like, interesting, cool book. Picks it up, starts reading through it. Seth Speaks is written by an author called Jane Roberts. What was her name? Yeah, Jane Roberts, okay? And he starts reading through this book, and this whole book talks about law of attraction, energy, and all these philosophies and ideologies. But his wife, Esther, the current preacher of this now, at that time was against this. She was a Christian, and she wasn't willing to listen to any of these things outside of Christianity, so she pushed it away. So he had to read in secret. He would sit in the morning before she woke up, read his little book, found it really cool, and then he would come and tell her, look, this book says this, and I found it really interesting. Slowly but surely, she got sucked into this, and she said, you know what, that does sound interesting, and she started reading it, she started liking it, she started believing in it. And so, later on, they came to know that there was a woman coming to Phoenix, Arizona, in the US, and offering to channel for people who had questions. Yani she would come, she was a kahin. She would come, she would sit there, you'd go to her, and she would talk to the jinns. You ask her whatever questions, the jinn would give her the answers, and she would relay them back to you. And that's sorcery and witchcraft and so forth. That's what she was doing. So they were looking for one of these people, and this person so happens to come to Phoenix. And she was quite famous, she was a big deal. So they made an appointment, and they go see this lady. Now, this is in Esther's words. It was in the daytime, and so it was not spooky. And it was very pleasant. The first session was with Jerry. And he had a ton of questions, and they didn't realize, but their time ran out, and so her turn was the next day. And when her turn came up, she asked this lady, this medium, to ask the jinn. She said, what can we do to speed up the achievement of our goals? Okay, so this is Esther with Jerry, sitting with a medium in Phoenix, Arizona, asking the jinn, what can we do to speed up our goals? And the jinn replied, use affirmations. Affirmations, and we'll get to that later, on the Eastern side, are mantras. Remember in yoga, you have mantras and you say these cool things, these affirmations? We'll get to that. The second answer was to meditate, but both her and Jerry were off because they had their own ill feelings about meditation. But the entity went on to say, just relax in comfortable clothes in a quiet place and focus on your breathing. When your mind strays, bring it back to your breathing. The channeler then asked Esther, do you want to know the name of your spiritual guide? And Esther said, yeah, sure. He said, you will have an experience at some point in the future. It will be a direct experience, and that will be your spiritual guide. And who comes to the scene now? Cue in Abraham. And Abraham is their jinn, their spiritual guide, their whatever entity, the demonic entity, who's going to now take over and help Esther and Jerry achieve their goals through affirmations and all these kinds of laws of attraction and so forth. So now what happens next? And I'm taking this all out of their book. I'm not making it up. This isn't me paraphrasing. I mean, I'm paraphrasing to some extent, but the idea is there. And you can go find this in their books, in their websites, in their biographies, etc. They went straight home, dressed comfortably and prepared for their first attempt at meditation. Sitting separately, they sat in separate rooms, the husband and wife, Jerry and Esther Hicks, because they weren't comfortable doing this in front of each other. It was weird. Like, I'm just going to sit there and float around and close my eyes, and they've never done it. They weren't comfortable, so they just want to cut some sort of privacy. They set a timer for 15 minutes and began. After 3 or 4 minutes, Esther began to feel a pleasant numbness, sort of tingly. When the timer went off, it startled them both, and Esther opted for an immediate repeat. Again, after a few minutes, she felt that wonderful numbness. Okay? Now, again, everything that I'm covering here is all going to tie in. But everything that I'm covering, you may have already some understandings of yoga and meditation and manifestations. These are all going to tie in, and you'll see them as we go along, inshallah. So they wanted to do it again. After a few minutes, she felt that wonderful numbness, and she couldn't feel the chair. It was as if she was floating. Again, the timer startled them. Towards the end of their third meditation, Esther felt that something was breathing her, forcing the air in and out of her lungs as she floated. It felt wonderful, loving, ecstatic, and yet at the same time a little frightening. After the session, Esther's teeth buzzed, not chattered, buzzed. Later she came to realize that this was her first experience with Abraham the jinn. So this was her session of talbis and sha'wada and witchcraft and wizardry with the jinn. This is her saying the whole thing. Okay? Abraham started to speak, because now khalas, she's opened herself up through this meditation. She's opened herself up to allow for demonic possession, right? Talbis al-jinn. Ma'ad Allah. And Allah protect us. And the jinn have no power over us. Nothing can happen to us unless Allah allows it. Okay, good or bad. And so long as we have our adhkar, we have our Quran, we have our sunnah, we hold on to our deen, to our prayers, inshallah, we are protected. But I need to cover this with you, inshallah. As weird and perhaps somewhat edgy this may come across, we need to cover it to help understand what is going on. Abraham started to speak by having Esther move her head around to spell out words with her nose. Okay, so she was moving her head around, and that's how she was writing in the air. And her husband, Jerry, would sit there with a little book and start writing down whatever she spelled out. Okay, and then this developed, because this was quite tedious, right? Imagine you're sitting there trying to write a whole paragraph with your nose. It's going to take you hours. So they had to, this had to improve. They had to innovate. And so one night, they were in bed, watching TV, and her head started banging on Jerry's chest. And she said, "It's not me, it's them." She went to a typewriter and started to type very quickly. I want to type, I want to type, I want to type, over and over and over again, hundreds of times or tens of times. And so it began. The law of attraction was brought to light. Okay, so law of attraction, those who say, no, it's real. This is, okay, it's real. If you want to accept that, this is the source. I'm trying to tell you Quran, Sunnah, and you're telling me the jinn. So there's a problem there. Now, I know I said one more step back before we go forward, but we have to go one more step back. So remember how I said earlier that Jerry was inspired by this book, Seth Speaks? Well, let's find out what Seth Speaks is about, because that's the book that kind of founded this whole movement. Seth Speaks was written by a woman called Jane Roberts, okay? And Seth Speaks is part of a larger collection called the Seth Material. And there's people who study this. I mean, they have dedicated groups and little, they sit together and they start to understand this and how can they implement this in their lives and so forth. It's quite an intricate philosophy. This Seth Material was dictated by Jane Roberts to her husband over the course of 20 years in their 60s. I mean, the guy is dedicated. For 20 years, he's sitting there taking notes of her, making out all kinds of nonsense from the jinn. And essentially, it was channeling entities through people to spread information. And the crux of that information was each individual creates his or her own reality. And how did this start with Seth Speaks? So Jane Roberts and her husband Robert Butts. These are the couple. How did this start? They started with a Ouija board. Now you might have heard of a Ouija board. It's a little board with some letters on it. You get a piece of glass and you move it around and you hold it and you have to say certain things because you're trying to contact the unseen world, the jinn and the shaitans. And you start moving this thing and then the jinn move the glass around to spell out certain letters and they're trying to communicate with you. Ma'adallah, this is all shirk, haram, kufr. You can't touch it, can't mess with it, don't touch it. Islamically, stay away from it. 1000%. Don't take my word for it. Go to the Islamic scholars who know all this stuff and ask them. They will tell you the same, inshallah. They started with a Ouija board. And they were receiving messages from a male person who later identified himself as Seth on the Ouija board. So he's moving his thing around, he's like, my name is Seth, all right? Then the Ouija board was no longer needed as she started hearing the voices in her head and dictate them to her husband, Robert Butts. She would go into a trance and Seth would speak. Seth described himself as an energy personality, essence, no longer focused in the physical world. So he's telling you, I'm in the unseen. I'm a jinn. He's coming to you straight up and saying, look, I'm a jinn. Take it or leave it. And the Seth collection, part of its teachings are, it discusses a wide range of metaphysical concepts, including the nature of God, and that's referred to as all that is, and the multi-dimensional God, the nature of physical reality, the origins of the universe, and the nature of God. All right? And I'm going to explain why I just highlighted that. The nature of the self, the nafs, and the higher self, the story of Christ, the evolution of the soul, and all aspects of death and rebirth. What's interesting is the Quran says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, in Surah Al-Kahf, which I hope most of us are familiar with, chapter 18, verse 51. ما أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض ولا خلق أنفسهم وما كنت متخذ المضلين عضدا. I did not make them witness to the creation of the heavens and the earth, nor to the creation of themselves. And then the verse continues. So Allah is telling us that nobody of mankind or jinn kind were witness to the creation of the universe. So when you come out with these theories And this thing is teaching you the physical reality, the origins of the universe, everything about God. He's telling us, وَمَا أَشْهَدْتُهُمْ, you were not made witness to this. So where did you get this from? So again, it's all lies, right? Now, just to end this, the book was written by Jerry and Esther Hicks. It was called Money and the Law of Attraction. I told you about that. On page 15, and you can go get the PDF. I don't recommend you read this, but if you want to fact check me, go get the book on PDF. Don't waste your money. And go to page 15, and you'll see this. And I copy-pasted this, okay? This book has evolved from the transcription of our original recordings from over 20 years ago. This is the first time these transcriptions have been available in print. However, they are not word for word because Abraham has now gone through every page of the original transcriptions and modified every part that might be made easier for the reader to understand and put into immediate practical use. You hear that? So Abraham preaches all this stuff for 20 years. They write a book about it. They get all their notes and they compile it. And then Abraham says, hang on a second. I need to step in here. I'm going to edit this book to make sure that it is easy to understand. It's easy to adopt and accept. So the book, quite literally, not metaphorically, is demonically inspired. It's written by the jinn. It's edited. I mean, he's the author, the editor, the co-author, the publisher. He's the whole thing. I mean, the guy's a whole package. He's like a great publishing house. He did the whole thing, and he pushed it out. And people are buying this law of attraction stuff and saying, no, but Islam has it. It's like, without even arguing the Islamic side, here's your source. It's the guy himself, the jinn himself is like, I wrote it. And it's like, no, Islam has it. There's a problem. And if you go further back, without going too much into this, there was a guy called Quimby in the 19th century who was diagnosed with tuberculosis with no cure, and he found that he cured himself by riding on a horse, and so he associated the concept of mind over body. Therefore, positive thinking will outdo any negative belief, and this gave birth to the idea of manifestation. That was kind of one of the earlier resources, and then that came on later into Seth, and then into Esther and Jerry Hicks, and the law of attraction, and the secret, and so forth, right? Now, fast forward to now, today, apparently, and I haven't come across this, so if anybody knows otherwise, do correct me. I haven't seen this, but I did read about it. There's a similar concept today, and I think it's on TikTok, from what I read. It's called Lucky Girl Syndrome. Lucky Girl Syndrome, which essentially says, repeat these mantras and you will attract luck, money, health, etc., because the universe is conspiring to help you. Again, the same thing wrapped up with different packages to address different people, different age groups, different eras, and so forth. Everybody has to get sucked into this ideology. Now, what's interesting is they always say the universe is conspiring. Why is the universe conspiring? Why is there this big idea you're a victim, right? There's this whole victimology concept that, the way my life has played out is because there's this negativity and I've got to fix it. And the universe is trying to help me, but I need to align with the universe and I can make all this stuff happen. And and whatever you put into the universe, you will get back. And this is karma and dharma, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Eastern side, which we're almost there, by the way. We're just finishing up the Western. Where's Allah in all this? Where's rizq? Where's qadr? Where's your fate, your destiny? Where's all that? I mean, that's all out the window. We're just talking the universe is conspiring to give you. There's no Allah anymore. Ma'adallah. And this goes back to, if you want to go way back, it goes back to Hermeticism throughout the European Renaissance and the alchemy. And at this point, I'll just go on, but you can do your homework after this. And this is all from the West. You see, the West brought the law of attraction, vibrations, and all that kind of stuff. And again, like I said earlier, the same shaitan operating on the Western side, preaching all this stuff, is the same guy operating on the Eastern side, preaching all this stuff. And so, on the Eastern side, you have mainly, it was through Taoism or Taoism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Gnosticism, shamanism, and others. It's a mixed bag. And a beautiful verse, as I finalize with the Western side of all of this. It says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وكذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا شياطين الإنس والجن يوحي بعضهم إلى بعض زخرف القول غرورا ولو شاء ربك ما فعلوه فذرهم وما يفترون ولتصغي إليه أفئدة الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة وليرضوه وليقترفوا ما هم مقترفون. This is in Surah Al-An'am, chapter 7. I don't have the chapter written. It's verse number 112 to 113. And in English it says, and so, we have made for every prophet enemies, devilish humans and jinn, whispering to one another with elegant words of deception. Had it been your Lord's will, they would not have done such a thing. So leave them and their deceit. so that the hearts of those who disbelieve in the hereafter may be receptive to it, be pleased with it, and be persistent in their evil pursuits. Okay? So that's our response from the Quran, just to that whole load of garbage that comes out of the jinn's mouth to preach all these secrets of the mysterious universe and everything's conspiring to work for you. That's all just a load of garbage, and it's right there. They are preaching zukhraf al-qawl, the beauties, these trickeries and these deceits and these lies. They're pushing all that out. And Allah says it right there in the Quran. SubhanAllah. Surah Al-An'am, verse number 112 and 113. And that's the end of the Western side. Okay, so there's a lot more, but that should cover for now. So now let's touch on the. Hang on, sorry, TikTok's being weird. Okay, you guys still with me? It's been long-winded. Holy moly, 45 minutes in. Okay, now let's go to the Eastern side. You guys good, or you wanna do this another day, inshallah? Because the Eastern side's a whole. That's a bag. You guys want to keep going? It is 11:15, so we'll do another 30, 45 minutes, and we'll see what we cover, inshallah. Please continue. Barakallah feekum. Alhamdulillah. And all of this stuff, by the way, go verify it, fact check it, validate it, do whatever you want. I'm not making any of this up, inshallah. All right, bismillah. So we'll go through the Eastern side. Let me just get a sip of water. I'm kind of dying here. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah. All right, bismillah. So from the Eastern side, they brought energy, spirituality, reincarnation, eternal energy. You are the creator. They coupled Eastern traditions with modern contemporary sciences like energy and physiology, and it subtly found its way in and was picked up by the people. So now we say, what is energy? Okay, this is the big one, right? Because everyone says, oh, there's energies, right? You have positive energy and negative energy. I mean, I've joined chats and people say, keep your negative energy out of here. And I'm like, going to chats and people say, keep your negative energy out of here. And I'm like, negative energy? What are you talking about here? And why is energy positive and negative? Where did you assume that from? Why do we subscribe ourselves to these things? And so you'll notice, by the way, that a lot of these words in this philosophy, right, or these philosophies, are words that are commonly used in the English language, or perhaps we took it from them or the other way around, Allahu A'lam. But we say it, right? I mean, you can say, you know what, there's a lot of energy in the room. And I'm not talking about the cosmic energies that are non-existent. I'm talking about the emotion, the hype in the room. Like somebody can walk in and there's a great, good feeling in the room, and there's an emotion. You can read people's faces and you can see everybody's laughing. You can see there's a great energy in the room, right? Now, they'll take this and say, well, that's the energies of the universe, positive and negative. And it's like, this is not founded in religion, which is our fundamental resource, or in, if you want to go down the science route, it's not founded there either. So what is energy? To make it clear, we're not talking about the physical energy as in kinetic or potential, the ability to do work, and through force you transfer that work onto a body or item. According to the Britannica Dictionary. Again, you want to fact check me. Britannica Dictionary. Energy in physics, the capacity for doing work. It may exist in potential, kinetic, thermal, electrical, chemical, nuclear, or other various forms. Okay? So we're not talking about that, just to clarify. So when someone says, oh, there's energy, yes, there is that type of energy. We're not talking about this. We're talking about the metaphysical, the whatever's out there, that energy. We are talking about the force that seemingly has so much control over us that it decides the fate of the people. You can manipulate it if you are good enough so that it can work in your favor. The metaphysical, the ether body. So, is energy, this nonsense energy, is that part of the universe or not? If it's part of the universe, then it is creation. And if it's creation, why are we asking it? Why are we depending on creation when we have the creator to go back to? And if it's not part of the universe and it's outside the universe and it is the creator, and if that's the case, then قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ. Bring your proof. Show me your evidence. Where did you get this claim from? And why have you subscribed to it so easily? Again, lack of understanding of the deen and the aqidah. We have a very clear deen. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ أَفَلَا يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Do we not think? Do we not ask? Do we not ponder, question, contemplate? Do we not do that? No. I mean, alhamdulillah, not most of us, but perhaps some. And inshallah I'm wrong. Inshallah nobody does that. Now, Islamically, what's interesting, well, not Islamically, in the Arab world, you will have Muslim preachers of these philosophies, okay? They will come out and say, yeah, law of attraction is real. And I covered the whole law of attraction, okay, where it came from. But they will still present it. And they will say the energies are real. Say, okay, well, what's your evidence? They say, well, the Quran says. And you're like, whoa, where does the Quran say that? You say, well, Surah Al-Baqarah. right? Allahumma la tuhammilna ma la taqata lana bih. Taqa in Arabic is energy. See, Quran says energy, and they take that and run with that and say the energy, and that's not the energy that's being referenced there. Again, that's when we try to understand the Quran, there is a methodology. We approach it with respect. And there's a way to understand the Quran. You don't just take a verse and run with it. And the evidence of that is you can see certain groups around the world that have taken that and created such a bad name they've created a bad version. Well, not even a version. They've just created something and they've associated that with Islam. And you know who I'm talking about, right? And they do that by taking these certain verses out of context and running with it and not understanding it the way it should be understood through the tafsir from the Rasul, from the Sahaba, from the Tabi'een, the Atba' Tabi'een. And if you do not know, then is'alu ahli al-ilm in kuntum la ta'lamun. And if you do not know, then ask the people of knowledge. You don't just interpret it willy-nilly and run with that interpretation and say that that is the truth. So that verse is not appropriate to apply to this statement. 2. They will say, Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. It's a famous verse. It's in Surah An-Nur. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. What's interesting is, and you'll see this through chakras and yoga when we cover that inshallah, there is something called the pillar of light that comes down through your chakras, and that helps you elevate, and you open up all the chakras, and you have this pillar that goes through all the different chakras, and we'll cover that. And so they use this verse. And they say Allah is the nur of the samawat, so therefore light is referenced, therefore you have chakras, and you have, again, you're grasping at straws here, and this is not the correct tafsir and understanding of the deen. Now, the third thing they'll say is meditation is mentioned in the Quran, and we have meditation in Islam. So, okay, go on. And they say, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. And those who are in their prayers have khushu'. Right? We're meant to have khushu' in our prayer, right? When you're sitting there and you're reciting and you're going to the ruku' and sujood, or whenever you're reciting the verses, you're meant to have khushu', right? As part of the requirements of your prayer. You're meant to focus on your prayer. And they say, see, khushu', meditation. That's one example. I'll get to the second one in a second. Khushu'. When we have khushu', what are we meant to do in our khushu'? This is a question. What are we meant to do in our khushu'? You just close your eyes and just float off into the universe? No. You are meant to have tadabbur on the verses. Understand what you are reading or listening to when you're praying behind an imam. So he says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. It's like, okay, all praise and thanks and gratitude be to Allah, the Lord, the creator of the worlds. You are thinking of the verse. You are thinking of it and trying to understand it. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most merciful. Malik Yawmiddin, and so forth. And any other verse in the Quran. You are meant to think and contemplate, not meditate. And I'll explain to you the difference when we get to what is meditation. And we'll go through those definitions. Because meditation essentially is to clear your mind and to not think of anything and to focus on just your breathing or focus on the noise or the wind or the water. And we'll get to that inshallah. So we do not have meditation. And that does not apply, again, because we have contemplation and not meditation. And by definition, these two are fundamentally different. And the second example is they'll say, for example, the Prophet ﷺ, he used to meditate when he used to go to Ghar Hira. Right? I mean, before the wahi came down, before Jibreel alayhi salam came down and brought the Quran with the first verse, Iqra, before he brought that, what did the Prophet ﷺ used to do? He used to go to Ghar Hira and he used to meditate. It's like, where did you get that from? There is a hadith in Bukhari that Aisha radiallahu anha was saying that before the wahi came down, he used to go there and do tahnith. So understand, what is tahnith? He was on Deen al-Hanafiyyah, which was Deen Ibrahim alayhi salam. They used to contemplate. They used to isolate themselves from the tahnith is to isolate yourself, to go into seclusion from evils. Like you see everybody down there is drinking and going nuts and doing all kinds of evils and crimes, and that's Quraysh. That's what they were. They were Jahili at the time, right? So he was not part of that, alayhi salatu salam. So he would isolate himself from society and contemplate on creation and contemplate on life. And they knew Ibrahim alayhi salam, so he was on Deen al-Hanafiyyah. Deen Ibrahim alayhi salam, our father. And another thing they do sometimes is they'll take the names of Allah and derive energy from it. This is Sifat Allah or Asma Allah. They have energies if you can use them the right way. So now we're using Allah's names for our benefit. Like it's like a menu. What do you want? You want money? Ar-Razzaq. And you say Ar-Razzaq, 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 and something happens. And then money just floats out of the sky, or whatever the case is. So they try to embed these satanic, demonic, pagan ideologies through Islamic principles. And they say, look, Islam says this is not true. So we need to understand what Islam says, what is our deen, and so that we are able to reject this, not for their sake. I mean, Allah yahdi al-jamii', may Allah guide us all and them, but for our sake, so that we do not fall victim and misunderstand our own religion, because our religion is complete and it's beautiful and it answers everything. But we need to know how to find those answers in our deen. Subhanallah. And there's that book that I mentioned. I don't want to repeat it, because this is a book that no one should read. It's that book that's in Arabic. I mentioned it earlier on. Someone said, what was the name of that book? I'm not going to repeat it. It's a really, 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 really bad book. And it was written by a guy in Algeria around 600 after Hijrah, so 600 AH. And Ibn Taymiyyah deemed him as a devil worshipper. This book is purely satanic, demonic. It deals in witchcraft and sorcery, how to bring about jinn, how to control them, how to do all that kind of stuff. It's all in that book. It's a forbidden, haram book. Do not touch it. Do not look at it. Do not deal with it. And so that's from the Arabic side. And those Arabic Muslim preachers of this philosophy reference that book. That book is demonic. It's shaitan right there. From the Western side, we have Abraham and his gang. They're preaching their garbage, and that's jinn. And on this side, you have demonic shaitan, their version of the jinn, preaching the same thing. And everyone's running with this, and they're saying, no, but the law of attraction is real. But energies are real. But the Quran, it's like, look at your sources. There's a problem there. And so now from the Eastern side, let's start with where this all began. Now, some of you are very familiar with the symbol. You understand it on a surface level, like I did, and I still do. I'm trying to understand a little more. And some perhaps on a deeper level. The yin-yang symbol. You know that black and white Mortal Kombat sign where it's a white semicircle, I guess, kind of with a black dot. And then on the other side, it's a black dot or a black semicircle with a white dot, the yin and yang. So that symbol is called, and I don't know how to pronounce this, it's called the Tai-Ji-Tu. I might be butchering that name, but whatever. It shows a balance between the two opposites with a portion of the opposite element in each section. Okay, so it's dualism. Exactly. The yin is a symbol of earth, femaleness, darkness, passivity, and absorption. The yang is conceived as heaven, maleness, light, activity, and penetration. So there are two opposites. They fit in together, and bam. So briefly put, the meaning of yin and yang is that the universe is governed by a cosmic duality. Sets of two opposing and complementing principles or cosmic energies that can be observed in nature, and this is from Taoism or Taoism. There's two different ways to say that. And that energy is called qi or qi. And everybody has qi within them. This is their philosophies, okay? And you need to fix your qi or your qi, right, within your body so that you remove any blockages, so you can be healthy and happy and so forth. And we can talk about acupuncture another day, inshallah. But that's one of the ways in which they do that, to remove any blockages from the meridians in the body so that the energy can constantly flow so that you can be healthy and complete and so forth. Next we have, I'm going to go through a few different philosophies, Hinduism, Buddhism, and all these things that talk about this. And then we'll talk about the definitions, and then we'll see how it wraps up, inshallah. We are about 50%, I hope, through. But I appreciate you guys kind of hanging on. It's long-winded, I told you. This is recorded, yeah, so you can run away. I'll record it, and it is recorded, inshallah, and then it will be chopped up and, perhaps more digestible. But you guys who are hanging on, all the patience and all the power to you guys, man. Barakallah feekum. Next, we have the Gnostic philosophy. Gnosis, or gnosis, I don't know how to pronounce that, is the common Greek noun for knowledge, and on a fundamental level says, and this is in Arabic, it's called al-Ghanusa, right? For those who speak Arabic, it's al-Ghanusa. In English, it's not the Gnostic philosophy. It says that salvation could be achieved through knowledge and not through faith. Okay, so you just have to know. You don't have to believe. If you have gnosis, then you have intuitive knowledge of spiritual truths. Okay, this is where the Quran gets involved. And what's interesting is they'll take spiritual truths like prayer, fasting, hajj, these rituals that we have, right? Arkan in Islam and so forth. They will take that and they will say, yeah, we have to pray. But the first thing, one of the biggest telltale signs of the preachers of this is that they will they will attack the sunnah, the hadiths and the actions and so forth. They'll say, no, this is fabricated. You can't take the hadith. The book is actually problematic. The isnad is weak. Don't accept it. Just take the Quran because that's the word of God, right? What do you need the hadith and the sunnah for? So if we take the Quran, it says pray, right? It doesn't tell you how to pray. We learn how to pray, how to put our hands, how to go into ruku' and sujood and what to say and so forth from the Rasul, right? But here, if you remove the sunnah, you are left with the Quran that says pray. And this is so. Go stand upside down in a mountain, go into a yoga pose if you want to, and pray. It doesn't matter how you pray, so long as you are sincere, because Allah is all merciful, right? And He loves you. And so you pray however you see fit. Or fasting. I mean, Islamically, we fast from sunrise to sunset, right? Sure, but, You don't have to fast from cigarettes, for example. Or maybe you should just fast from cigarettes. Why should you fast from food? You need food. So they can adjust the fasting to however they want. They can adjust the Hajj. Why do you have to go all the way to Mecca to do a Hajj? I mean, essentially, what is Hajj? You're going through a struggle, on a difficulty, on a divine spiritual path to go to Allah and to fulfill your obligation. Why can't you do that? Go climb up a mountain and go find a cave and be one with the Creator and be sincere and have ikhlas and ask Him and have meditation and so forth. You could do it that way. So you can take these elements out and run with them. Now what's interesting is in Surah Al-Imran it says, هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب وأخر متشابهات فأما الذين في قلوبهم زيغ فيتبعون ما تشابه منه ابتغاء الفتنة وابتغاء تأويله وما يعلم تأويله إلا الله والراسخون في العلم يقولون آمنا به كل من عند ربنا وما يذكر إلا أولو الألباب. Chapter number 3, verse 7. In English it says, It is He who has sent down to you, O Muhammad, the book. In it are verses that are precise. They are the foundation of the book, and others unspecific. Okay? As for those in whose hearts is deviation from truth, they will follow that of which is unspecific, seeking discord and seeking an interpretation suitable to them. And no one knows it is true interpretation except Allah. But those firm in knowledge will say, We believe in it, all of it is from our Lord, and no one will be reminded except those of understanding. So they take those ayat mutashabihat and they run with it to interpret it however they see fit, to suit their women desire, to create a subjective reality of the deen that makes sense to them. And so they've bent the deen, although the deen is not bendable, they've bent it in their perception to meet their women desire and say, well, what's the problem? We can all worship Allah however we see fit. I mean, Allah Ghafur Rahim, so what's the problem there? But Allah is also Shadid al-Iqab. And it is not up to you and me to decide how we should worship Allah. It is not up to you and me to decide that, this is how the deen should be fulfilled. SubhanAllah. Allah tells us we need to understand the dynamics of our relationship. We are slave and He is master. He tells us what to do and what not to do, and we follow suit. And that's as simple as it gets, subhanAllah. We will go through Hinduism and Buddhism in the next segment when we touch on yoga and chakras, inshallah. Now, what's interesting is if a Buddhist or a Hindu or a shaman or any other belief system comes up to you as a Muslim and says, follow Buddha, or God is non-existent, we would turn away from them right off the bat and say, no, this is kufr, this is shirk, don't accept it. It's a scam. I'm Muslim. I'm firm in my faith. Leave me alone. So that's very easy. It's black and white, inshallah, for most of us. But when it comes subtly wrapped, but it doesn't say that, you have to worship Buddha. Just keep your Allah, it's fine. But you got to also understand that there is a law of attraction. There is energies that decide and govern. I'm glitchy? Am I still glitchy? Apologies. I was glitchy. Am I glitchy over there? Wow. Tough audience. Am I still glitchy, by the way? I don't know if you guys can hear me. No? Jazakallah khair, smart boy. No? Awesome. Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. Thank you. I don't know. Maybe the energies are conspiring. That was a terrible joke. But nevertheless, if they were to come up to you with that system, you would just reject them right off the bat. But your enemy's smart. So your enemy knows how to attack, and he does so subtly. And so these philosophies get introduced three main ways that I've discovered, and perhaps there's more, but these are the three main ones. The first one is self-development, right? The second one is holistic medicine and alternative treatment. And the third is exercise and well-being, or physiology. Now, self-development in and of itself is needed. I'm not rejecting it. Neither does Islam reject it, of course. We are meant to improve ourselves in every aspect possible, by learning, by improving, by, understanding the world around us. This is part of self-development, developing our character, our attitude, our understandings, all of that, our knowledge. We need to have self-development. But where does it become problematic is when you go through self-development programs and courses. They start off with the basics, right? Time management, budgeting, confidence, salesmanship, and so forth. The ability to kind of be able to socialize and to talk to anybody and be an extrovert or an introvert or whatever they want to push out, whatever the case is. And it's all working, it's all great stuff, and it's stuff that you need to know, right? How to operate and how to manage your daily lives in every aspect possible, because we have وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبُكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا, and do not forget your share of the dunya. We're not meant to just be these spiritual things that just say, that's it, all I'm going to focus on is Jannah and to whatever with the dunya. No, we are meant to be people of balance. You are people of balance. We have that balance of the deen, we have the balance of the dunya. We don't go into the extreme of the dunya. We govern our dunya aspects under the lens of the deen. That's how that operates. The problem lies is when you start going through these things of self-development and you start to see positive results, you start to slowly get introduced to the idea of, well, you're creating this reality. Right? I mean, it was your attitude that brought this to fruition. You gave birth to this, and because you changed, you can now adjust, and you can do, and you can bring, and you can, do all these things. So you start subtly bringing in that idea of you have the power. I mean, you're all powerful. Who's going to stop you now? You know how to sell. You can do. You can this. You can that. And you've removed the concept of al-Razzaq. That's one of the concepts, but there's many. This is one. And I'm not going into too much detail of each one of these because this is very, very long, and I'm just trying to summarize it as best I can, although perhaps I'm doing a terrible job. Number two, from the holistic medicine approach, we have no issue with herbs and prophetic medicine and medication and so forth. I mean, if you guys have followed me for a while, I think you know my stance on pharmaceutical industry and my belief system with that. So I'm not promoting a pharmaceutical industry in the least. And not medical advice. I guess I have to give these disclaimers, right? So I'm just saying that's my personal opinion. But the problem lies is when we associate the quality of Allah as Shafi, that He is the one who brings cure to the sick, to some clown or some guy walking around, or energies. If I move the energies around you, I can take out or extract the negativity or the blockages in your meridians, and I can free up your aura and your chakras, and I can align all this stuff. There's a problem here, because you're saying the shifa came from these creations and not from Allah. Now, this is in the unseen, right? And only Allah knows the unseen. In Surah Al-Jinn, verse number 26, Allah says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم عالم الغيب فلا يظهر على غيبه أحدا إلا من ارتضى من رسول. He is the all-knower of the unseen. And so nobody has access to the unseen except Him. Okay? In another surah, Surah Al-Zumar, قُلْ اللهم فاطر السماوات والأرض عالم الغيب والشهادة أنت تحكم بين عبادك فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون. Oh Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, and this is me roughly translating, I don't have the translation in front of me. You are the all-knower of the seen and the unseen, and you will govern between your slaves on what they had a difference between them. This is just a rough translation, but the idea is that Allah is telling us in the Quran that He has the full knowledge of the unseen, not us. Okay? Now, before we go into the third category, which is exercise, well-being, which we're going to get to, which is the yoga side. I know everybody's kind of waiting for the yoga side. There's a trend that I need to point out now, because now we're going to start to see how the Western philosophy and the Eastern philosophies come together. The trend here is the aqidah of this New Age philosophy, okay, which is wahdat al-wujud. Roughly translated, the oneness of creation. You are God, ma'adallah, and God is you. I mean, even in yoga, they say namaste. One of the meanings of namaste is the God within me greets the God within you. So there's a whole concept of wahdat al-wujud. And you must elevate yourself to attain this position, to create your destiny, to manifest your life, to cure yourself, to attract whatever you want. So the law of attraction. Because you're the God, right? I mean, you're creating the reality through your thoughts. By vibrating with the right frequency with the universe, you bring this into creation, not Allah, not the creator. You created it. And so you have God within you, or you are God. And if you can elevate the right way, and we'll get to how that's done and what to get to, the whole moksha concept in Hinduism, to elevate to that level so you can break out of the reincarnation cycle by becoming a God. And we'll get to that, inshallah, if we have time. It's very long, I told you guys. And you are eternal energy. That's the chi and the ki, because the energy doesn't exist. It doesn't die. It just keeps going on and on and on. And so you have the concept of reincarnation. You do not die, you transform. You and the universe are one. And this is direct, irrefutable kufr and disbelief in Surah Al-Ikhlas, one of the shortest surahs in the Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. We know who Allah is. We have a clear understanding of who Allah is. And we know who we are, or we should know who we are. And we should have a clear understanding of who we are. And so just logically, if we are gods, ma'adallah, in this concept, when we say we're going to worship, who are we worshipping? Ourselves? Are we worshipping our nafs? Aside from shirk and kufr, just the logic there is not found. So to attain this, you must do so by working on your chakras. It's an annoying word. To me, it's an annoying word. From early Hinduism and Buddhism, what is a chakra? Chakra in Sanskrit means wheel and refers to energy points in your body. They are thought to be spinning discs of energy that should stay opened and aligned as they correspond to bundles of nerves, major organs, and areas of our energetic body that affect our emotional and physical well-being. And I took that definition right out of the book. Now, there are 7 chakras, starting at the lower back and going up to the crown chakra in the head. These are gateways for energy. Where's the energy? Energy of the universe. So this universal energy is mainly from Taoism and Tao. Remember that? We talked about Taoism and the Qi. That was that cosmic duality energy. And here we're talking about opening up your chakras so that you can get the energy of the universe. This is how the whole thing kind of ties in. So there is no God per se. Rather, the universe springs from Tao. And Taoism is an ancient Chinese philosophy based on the writing of some guy called Lao Tzu. So what does Taoism teach? Because Taoism brought this whole Qi and Qi stuff. Okay? Yeah, I'm talking about anime. Taoism teaches that all living creatures ought to live in a state of harmony with the universe, and that the energy found in it, Qi, is the energy present in and guiding everything in the universe. Energy. But how do we elevate to fix your Qi, to have harmony with the universe and this cosmic energy? Now, Taoist cultivation practices include stillness, meditation, internal alchemical meditation, ritual, martial arts, life nourishing through diet, qigong, and living in harmony with the seasons and the calendar. Okay? And the purpose is to remove the blockages in the body so you can receive the qi, to clear your inner self. Again, now some of these terminologies may resonate with some who practice yoga, who've watched yoga, clear your inner self, remove the auras, and do all the chakras and all that kind of stuff. This is all it's all there. Now, so they all give birth to the same concept. Now here's where all the roads cross, and that's that wahdat al-wujud, the concept of being one with God. You are God and God is you, and God is within you, and God is the creation, and God is the creator, and it's all one. The whole thing is this one bag. SubhanAllah. Now, from a Hindu perspective, you have, and I'm going to touch on this, you have Brahman, which is the concept of transcendent and immanent ultimate reality, supreme cosmic spirit. Brahman connotes the highest universal principle, the ultimate reality of the universe. This is the big boss, right? Brahman. Brahman has 3 main forms, similar to Trinity in Christianity. He has Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma is the creator of the universe. Vishnu is the middle guy. He's the preserver. And Shiva is the destroyer. These are the 3 main guys. And there's millions of others ones, but these are the kind of the 3 big bosses. The energy started off with the Tao yin-yang symbol. Eventually is in duality, so therefore energy is positive and negative. Everything is in duality, so therefore energy is positive and negative. So when you talk about keep your positive energy, your negative energy, that comes from Taoism because everything is in duality. So we're taking concepts out of... This is all against Islam. Thank you, Shez. This is all anti-Islamic. I mean, I don't know. Beard didn't give it away, my name. I'm on the Islamic side. So I'm just trying to show this ideology and philosophy, its origins from paganism and from direct demonic inspiration, which I've covered already, and how those have infiltrated their ways into the Muslim audiences and the Muslim minds around the world, where they've adopted these philosophies and principles into their daily lives, unbeknownst to them that this is actual shirk and kufr. It's just absolute garbage. Okay? The whole law of attraction, and energies, and all that stuff. So I'm on the Islamic side. So just to clarify, thank you, Shez and Alina, and I don't know, there's like a million comments, I'm sorry. But thank you all. Jazakumullah khair. So that's just to clarify my stance on this. All right. I know you guys know, but I'm on TikTok here, and there's like a lot of comments. So, where was I? Yes, the 3 bosses. So now we're going to go into definitions, okay? Because these are the terminologies that you're going to hear. We covered chakras, that whole spinning wheel disc of energy thing that's floating around inside you, and you have to open them up to get energy from the universe. Okay. What is a mantra? A mantra, and I've copy pasted several of these things, so you can go fact check, verify, validate, do whatever you want to do. This is what I've found. A mantra or mantram is a sacred utterance or sound, a syllable, word, or group of words, most often in an Indic language like Sanskrit, believed by practitioners to have religious, magical, or spiritual powers. It's used in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. That's a mantra. So when you go into yoga, they say, oh, you got to do your mantras. That's where it's coming from. Okay, so it's a spiritual, religious thing that has powers. So right off the bat, we got shirk and kufr. What is Om? You must have heard, when they do the Om thing? What is Om? Om, in Hinduism, is often referred to as the prime symbol of Hinduism, and it is said to be the primordial sound from which the universe was created. Remember that verse in Surah Al-Kahf? وَمَا أَشْهَدْتُهُمْ خَلْقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ? Okay, so here they're saying that this sound created the universe. The three syllables are A-U-M, Aum, like that. That's how you pronounce it, or that's how you would say it. Are said to represent the Trinity, or the three major gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And this is used in yoga. It is usually placed before Hindu scriptures as an exclamation mark, like, pay attention, this is a big deal, like the Vedas. So what are the Vedas? I'm just touching on these as I read through this, and this all tie in, inshallah. The Vedas are a large body of religious texts originating in ancient India. Composed in Vedic Sanskrit, the text constitutes the oldest layer of Sanskrit literature and the oldest scriptures of Hinduism. There are 4 Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, and the Athar Veda. It means knowledge or wisdom, and it is popular among followers of Hinduism. The Vedas are sacred written texts of early Indian scripture which form the basis of this religion. Okay, so just in case you hear those words when you're doing this yoga stuff, the Vedas and the mantras and all this kind of stuff, I'm just giving you the basic definitions. What is karma? Well, you need to cleanse it, right? So what is karma? Karma is an ancient Indian concept that refers to an action, work, or deed and its effect or consequences. Okay? The sum of a person's actions in this and previous existences viewed as deciding their fate in future existences. So, you're probably familiar with the concept anyway, but just in case, if you were bad in this life, you may come back in the next life as a cockroach or something awful. If you were good in this life, you may come back as something, I don't know, maybe a lion or a tiger or something cool next life. I don't know. But you basically reincarnate as something different based on the actions in this life and the previous lives. So you are, وَلَا تَحْمِلُوا, what's the verse if I can remember? Can't remember right off the bat in Arabic, but we do not bear the sins of others. And I'll have to find that verse and I can post it in the Telegram, inshallah. But if anybody knows it, do share, please. Forgive me for forgetting. And so you are good in this life because in a previous life you were good. It's an invisible scoreboard that counts your good and bad deeds to decide who or where you will be in the next life. So we remove the concept of qadr and yawm al-hisab, yawm al-qiyamah, the day of judgment, the day of reckoning, the day of being accountable. That's all gone. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. جزاك الله خير. Thank you. Completely slipped my mind. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. Next, we have the third eye, which is pretty cool. The third eye, also called the mind's eye or the inner eye, is a thing that floats around here. It's in Hinduism, Buddhism. It talks about, I'm not going to read the whole thing, enlightenment, higher consciousness. You open that up so you can have spiritual, divine intervention, and you can float around, and you guys can go through that definition yourself, inshallah. And there's a few other ones like the Turiya, out-of-body experience, which is a Lasqat al-Najmi, which we talked about earlier. That's non-existent, which is where you float out of your body and you can see yourself and you go hovering around and you can travel the world and do all kinds of things. And you'll find that in some weird sects, but that's for another day, inshallah. And the third part, so we covered self-development, and we've touched on physiology. We haven't got into the yoga bit yet, but I'm just covering the premise to yoga. The third part, as to how this whole ideology infiltrates, is through the spiritual energy healing. So we said prophetic medicine we have no problem with. Herbs and these kinds of things we have no issue with, right? Jazakallah khair, Alina. Thank you for that. Surah Al-Imran, chapter number 3, verse 196. And so as Muslims, we need to understand that there are 3 main concepts when it comes to treatment and cures and medication. We are encouraged to seek out cures because we know that there's a hadith that says لِكُلِّ دَاءٍ دَوَاء. For every disease or ailment, there is a cure. إِلَّا الْحَرَمْ, except for old age. And that's a hadith. Number 2, that there is no cure in something that is haram. And Allah would not say, here's a sickness that has been afflicted. May Allah grant shifa to every person who is sick. Here's a sickness, and the cure for this is in alcohol. And alcohol is haram. This becomes unjust, ma'adallah. And so that's not fair. And so that's not there. And so there's never a cure in something that is haram. That's just a foundation right there. Number 3, seeing the benefit of something does not permit its usage. So you see somebody doing something, you're like, oh, that cure seems to be working. It has some benefit. That doesn't mean that it's now allowed. It has to fall under the principles of al-masalih wal-mafasid and the aqidah and the deen. Does it align with the other principles of the deen? Is it halal? Is it haram? Is it makruh? All these kinds of things. Then we can say, okay, inshallah, it's allowed or it's not allowed, and you do ijtihad and so forth. So now, you have belief in something as a cure that has not been given through Islamic teachings. This is when it comes to the spiritual healing, right? And I've seen people on TikTok do this. They'll sit with a microphone and they'll start doing this on the microphone. They are removing negative energies to cure you from your sicknesses, and they're trying to remove all the negativity and the bad thoughts and the depression and so forth. They are curing you. It's not found in Islam. It's not like Zamzam or Habat al-Barakah or anything. No, it's none of that. It's not prophetic medicine. It's not even Islamic from the Quran. It's not shifa'un lima fi sudur. It's not even from the Quran. Nothing from the religion, right? Number 2. حياكم الله يا أخي أخ فادي وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. I'm wrapping it up. I don't think I can do the whole thing. There's still about 30% left to go, but we'll see how you guys are once I finish this segment, inshallah. And number 2, it has not been proven through trial and error as a constant truth. So if you want to go through the science route, they've done tests, they've checked it out, and it's proven itself over time that this remedy, this medication, this pill, whatever it is, does actually have this effect, and it's proven, and it does do this result. Neither of those apply when it comes to the spiritual energy healing. It doesn't exist. It's not there. And so even in the Islamic world, you have the concept of the blue eye. You know that little blue thing that people run around with, and there's a little white eye in it, and they say that's going to protect me from hasad, right? Or they'll have bracelets, and they say this is for the energies. You can get like a metal bracelet or different colors, or you have crystals. Even Muslims do this, subhanAllah. They'll have crystals, all these different weird things, and they say this is going to protect me, or this is going to cure me, or this is going to do something for me. Now, right off the bat, that's shirk. Here's the reasoning as to why. Wallahu a'lam. I'm not a mufti, not a sheikh. This is in my opinion, what I've found and what I've asked and what I've researched. This is shirk because you are saying, well, not you, this hypothetical person is saying that this little bracelet that I'm wearing is a sabab, is a reason for my shifa, for my cure. Now, who's the creator of the asbab? Who is the khaliq al-asbab? Allah. Allah alladhi khaliq al-asbab. We have to take by the asbab when we are trying to do anything in our life. Okay, we follow these asbab. But now I'm saying that this item, this watch, for example, is a sabab. I've given it these powers, and so I've associated myself as partners with God in deciding what can or cannot be a sabab. This is right off the bat, major shirk. That you are deciding what is a sabab. Does that make sense? So that's very problematic right there. And there is a hadith which we can cover. I'll share that on the Telegram, inshallah, because it's a bit long. But it talks about a tree, and the Sahaba wanted to have a tree so that they can get barakah from it. And the Prophet ﷺ compared them to the people of Bani Israel. And the Sahaba obviously weren't trying to do shirk, and this is where it gets interesting. But we'll do that on the Telegram channel, inshallah. And for those of you who don't know, this Telegram channel, there's a link in the bio. Join that, inshallah. And we can take this offline because that's a bit of a long hadith. There's another shorter hadith. It's very short. Rasulullah says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يلحق حي من أمتي المشركين وحتى تعبد فئام من أمتي الأوثان. The hour will not come to pass, yani day of judgment will not come until some of the ummah, my ummah, Rasulullah worship statues and become pagan. And it's like, oh, hang on, I mean, you're ummah Muhammad, you're the Muslims. And it's not like we're, doing haram things. The kaba'ir or saghir, it doesn't matter whether they're great harams or small. You're going back to worshipping paganism, statues. How did that come? Where? And so, subhanAllah, wallahu alam, I find it through this. Wallahu alam. That's my opinion. Next, we have meditation. I kind of touched on this earlier, but in Islam, in Quran, we have أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ أَفَلَا يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Do they not think? Do they not ponder upon the creation? So where does meditation fit in? What is meditation? So meditation is to focus your thought and mind on one specific thing. You empty your mind, you clear it, by reciting mantras like Om, which we covered earlier, right? Focus on the noise, the wind, whatever. Just focus on your breath. Close your eyes and shut your mind down. And this can go on for hours. You don't even realize what's going on. You just gone into a trance for hours and you wake up, you're like, oh, I feel better. So now you have meditation versus contemplation. Okay? Meditation, you shut down your mind and you focus on one object and use a mantra to do so. And those mantras, we explained, are religious sayings or things that you say that have religious powers in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism, and all these other ones. So right off the bat, kufr, shirk. Don't do it. Those mantras. Okay. Islamically, we are meant to think, contemplate, and understand the creation. In the Quran it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. It's very interesting. They are those who remember Allah. So, meditation and contemplation. Look what the verse says. Those who remember Allah while standing, sitting, and lying on their sides, and reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth, and pray, Our Lord, you have not created all of this without purpose. Glory be to you, protect us from the torment of the fire. So, meditation says, just clear your mind, think of nothing. Contemplation says, fakkar, think about the ayat, the creation, what Allah has put in front of us. Look at the skies, look at the mountains. أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ وَإِلَى الْجِبَالِ كَيْفَ نُصِبَتْ وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. Have you not seen the skies, the mountains, the earth, the ibil, the camel, the she-camel when she gives birth? We're meant to contemplate and understand all of this. Not just sit there empty-minded and float into nothing and assume that some great power, the universe, is going to just give us whatever we want. I mean, where's the asbab? Yani, for example, and I'm going to touch on it in a minute, but we can talk about it now, is if I say I want children, for example, I would like to have children. Well, what's the first thing I should do? Get married, right? I mean, I'm just going to sit there, I'm going to say, all right, law of attraction, make it happen. And I'm just going to get children falling from the sky. It doesn't work that way. We have the concept of asbab, and so our deen is logical. Our deen is complete. It explains all of this. It doesn't leave these things up for ambiguity. It is very clear. It's very concise. But we need to understand our deen and understand these false philosophies, these demonic ideologies, and how they try to manipulate into the minds of the Muslims, subhanAllah. And we've covered the tahnith of the Rasul. Okay. Now, either we can stop here or we can finish the final 15%. You guys vote. You guys want to keep going? The next topic is yoga. What is yoga? Which I think everybody was kind of waiting for. So you guys decide. You want to call it a night? Or do you want to keep going? Keep going? Barakallah fikum. Well, if you want to call it a night, you're free to swipe up. Isn't yoga Hindu prayer? Yeah. Jazakumullah khair. Okay, alhamdulillah. All right. Let's keep going, inshallah. We'll try to. It's midnight, so I'll do my best. What is yoga? Barakallah fikum. And thank you guys for hanging on, and I appreciate you guys. Very long-winded, and this took me a while to compile. And I have a team of great people, mashallah. Allah jazihum al-khair. This was not me. I've got a few people, barakallah fihum, who've helped me. They've sent me a lot of notes, and they've done the research as well. So a lot of time was put into this to kind of help, inshallah. And this has opened my eyes to quite a few things as well. But inshallah, this is of benefit to us and to you. Barakallah fikum. And you can always verify, validate. Don't just take my word for it. I'd like for you to confirm these things by yourself to make sure that what I'm saying is in fact true. And if it's wrong, then message me and correct me Islamically. Bring me the Islamic evidence. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What is yoga? The definition of yoga means to union or to yoke. Remember the whole wahdatul wujud? To become one. With who? The creator? No, with the universe, the energies, the ki, the chi. They all tie in. If you see all these philosophies, they're all coming together. So yoga is to union or to yoke. And as per yogic scriptures, the practice of yoga, the whole exercise, the stretching thing that you do, leads to the union of the individual consciousness with that of universal consciousness. Hang on a second. I remember many pages ago, when I was talking about the Western side of this, Esther Hicks said Abraham, her jinn, was infinite intelligence. Remember that? Universal consciousness, infinite intelligence, coming together. It's the same guy. It's the same shaitan operating on both sides of the equator here, or both sides of the world. He's running around preaching the same thing. It's like, wahdatul wujud, wahdatul wujud. It's all one. You are God, God is you, and the whole thing. So, one who experiences this oneness of existence is said to be in yoga, and is termed as a yogi, having attained a state of freedom referred to as mukti, nirvana, or moksha. Mukti, nirvana, moksha. That's kind of the state when you get to that super boss level. You're in moksha, nirvana. You can float around, and you are one with God, and that whole thing. Now, yoga isn't for the average person. This is what's interesting, though. I talked about this in the previous live. We didn't go so much into it. But what's interesting is When you go on YouTube and you see these motivational videos of success and happiness and how to make money and be a boss and all these kinds of things, it's always some guy sitting on a mountain meditating, right? They're always doing yoga because that's like the healthy lifestyle. That's the lifestyle of the successful. They seem to be doing these mystic practices that we just have prayer, we have dua, but they do these things and it works. I mean, they meditate and they manifest. I mean, they really want it. And how are they able to do it? They have a secret. There's a secret. And if you notice through marketing campaigns, they'll say the secret to losing weight, the secret to your happiness, the secret to a successful marriage. There's always a secret. And so curiosity killed the cat. We want to find out these secrets because there's these mysteries of the universe that we need to unravel so we can have better lives. And so they come in from that angle. So here we go. Here's a secret. I'm going to sell it to you. And if you buy it, your whole life's going to change and it's going to be great. And so the poses, now, a lot of you may disagree with me on this. You have your prerogative and I have mine. The poses are not just poses. So let me explain. So when somebody comes up and says, well, I'm just doing the swordfish, or I'm doing the robot, or whatever move or asana they have in yoga, it's just a stretch. What's the problem? Now, they are constructed in a way to give an offering to one of the gods. Even the breathing, the poses, meditation, it gets accepted by the gods. I'm taking this from Hindu yoga websites. Their sources, their yogic things, whatever they've talked about, I'm taking it from. I'm not making this up. I didn't go to like an Islamic guy and say, tell me about what. No, I went to them. I've used both references, but when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm taking it from their side. Okay. According to the gurus, the super guys of yoga, they say that all yoga is a form of worship. It is a spiritual action with physical benefits. And there's a big difference here. Yani, for example, when we pray Salah as Muslimin, right, there are physical benefits, right? I mean, when you go into sujood, perhaps you're stretching the spine. When you go into ruku', you're adjusting your shoulders. Whatever the case is, there are physical benefits. Blood is rushing to your head when you go down into sujood. Of course. But do we pray because of the physical benefits? No. Our prayer is a spiritual action. It has physical benefits. Yoga is a spiritual action to them. And it has physical benefits. And people have extracted it. But the yoga gurus, the yogis, are saying no. Whoever thinks that yoga is an exercise is wrong. One of the famous guys said that was this guy called Sadhguru, S-A-D-H, Sad, I don't know how to pronounce that, Sadhguru. He's the one who comes out and says, yoga is not an exercise, okay? It's a spiritual practice. And for example, and I talked about this last time in the live, I said, imagine a Buddhist, right, in the orange suit, full-on Buddhist. You're walking down the park and you see a Buddhist standing there and he does this. He says, Allahu Akbar. He puts his hands. And then he starts reciting this mantra to us, al-Fatiha. He starts saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir. He does the whole thing. And then he goes into ruku'. And then he goes up into, he stands up. And then he goes into sujood. And he's saying all these, to them, mantras. He's saying what we say. He goes to the guy and says, hey, mashallah, assalamu alaikum, Muslim, huh? He says, no. So what do you mean? He says, I'm not Muslim. So that's a little weird. What do you mean, I heard you read the Fatiha. He's like, no, that's my mantra to kind of open up my chakras. Oh, okay. I saw you go ruku', sujood, stand up, do the tashahhud, do the whole thing. He's like, no, this is exercise. Like I've got back pain and it's beautiful. It's like, that's a little weird. It's like, no, you're praying how the Muslims pray. He's like, no. I'm just doing it as exercise, man. I'm like, no, that's a spiritual thing. We pray that way. He's like, it's just exercise. You see my point? We don't have to talk about clothing, the yoga fans, we can skip through that. So anyways, so then someone would still argue and say, no, well, leave the spiritual side out of it. I'm just going to do the exercise of yoga. Yoga is a package. You start off with the exercises, and then one thing leads to the next. And because you need to meditate, you need to say certain words, you need to breathe in a certain way. And there's different types of yoga, right? From even the exercise side. There's different asanas, these different moves. You have to do things in a certain way. So you start off with a stretch if you wanted to practice yoga. I'm not saying just you wanted to randomly stretch in the house and it so happens to coincide with a yoga move. Then okay, subhanAllah, okay, you coincided with it, great. But if you deliberately know that this action is kufr or shirk, then there's a problem there if you continue to pursue it and follow through with it. Make sense? So yoga is the union. Excuse me. It's been a long live. Yoga is the union with God or the universe. Why? So why do that, right? So these are the questions. Like I'm reading through this, like, okay, why? I'm becoming one with the energy and the God and the universe and the creation. Why? And the answer is to break out of reincarnation and karma. And this is called moksha, which is to release from the cycle of rebirth impelled by the law of karma. So yoga is the process, moksha is the goal, and gods do not reincarnate. So you want to get to that level, you've broken out, you don't have to come back as a cockroach next time, you can be cool, and you do that through yoga. Okay? So if it's not obvious already, here's a few problems with reincarnation. I'm almost, hopefully done. 4 more pages, inshallah. We've done like 20 pages, so yeah, we're almost done. A few problems with reincarnation right off the bat, in case we need to bring it out to light. Number 1, it removes the concept of heaven and hell and the afterlife. The justice system is broken. If you want to argue that, well, the next life you come back as a rat or a cockroach, great. Well, what about the victim of your crime? See, that's a problem there. There's no justice system. Number 2, you've made this up. It's not founded in the religion. And then number 3, you are punished for the sins of previous lives. There is no evidence of this from the ultimate truth, which is Allah, and you are eternal in this life. So there is no concept of al-maut, or al-maut haqq, as the Quran tells us, that life, the death is real, it is true. وَكُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ, and every soul will taste death. So we do die, and we don't come back into this life. We go into the next life, where we are held accountable by the deeds and the actions that we have done in this life. All right. So wrap up. We have reincarnation, union with the gods, karma, and so at worst, this is all shirk, and at best, if you really, really, really tried hard, you said, no, I'm just doing the yoga moves, I'm not doing any of the ohms or the ahs, I don't believe in the gods or the idols, I'm not doing any of that stuff. This is just a stretch, and it's yoga. And I'm opening the yoga book, and I'm, step 1, put your leg upside down, do all these things, great. At best, it's imitating the mushrikeen. That's at best. Why imitate? Why can't you just do Pilates? Why can't you just get on a bike or run or just do a normal stretch? Why does it have to be yoga? I mean, that's at best. Do not imitate the mushrikeen. There's a hadith that talks about that, subhanAllah. All right. And so now we talk about namaste, the God in me greets the God in you. I'm going to give you an example of an asana, a move in yoga, purely stretch. Okay? There's a move, famous one, called the sun salutation, and it's called the Surya Namaskar, or salute the sun. Very famous one, right? I think you do the worm to the sun or something. The name Surya Namaskar, the salute the sun. Surya means sun, and Namaskara means greeting or salute. Surya is the Hindu demigod of the sun. This identifies the sun as the soul and source of all life. Okay? For example, the step is called the Urdhva Hastasana, which means the upward salute to the sun. The mantra that's chanted is Om Arkaya Nama. Translated, this mantra, when you do this move in yoga, translated says, it is fit to be worshipped. So you're pointing yourself up at the sun, and you're saying, is fit to be worshipped. There's a problem here. There's a verse in the Quran that says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ اللَّيْلُ وَالنَّهَارُ وَالشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ لَا تَسْجُدُوا لِلشَّمْسِ وَلَا لِلْقَمَرِ وَاسْجُدُوا لِلَّهِ الَّذِي خَلَقَهُنَّ إِن كُنتُمْ إِيَّاهُ تَعْبُدُونَ. And of his signs are the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. Prostrate not to the sun nor to the moon, but prostrate to God, who created them, if it is him you worship. So right off the bat. This is a very long story. I'm going to skip through all of that. About a Muslim guy who got sucked into yoga. We can do that on Telegram, inshallah. We can skip through Kundalini yoga. We can do that another day, inshallah, because that one's really long, and that one's like super demonic, about elevating a snake through you, and it's just demonic possession. That one's really, really long. And it's already midnight, past midnight. So we'll have to skip through that one. Candles and symbols, we can skip through that. We can touch on... All right, we're almost done. Like 5 more minutes, inshallah. And then you guys can run away. Manifesting. What is manifesting? Manifesting is the practice of thinking aspirational thoughts with the purpose of making them real. To make something happen by imagining it and consciously thinking that it will happen. That's a Cambridge dictionary, so you can go fact check that. Manifest means to show or display. That's a normal definition that we use in our normal language. So we have these words that we use in our normal language that are used here, and so we unknowingly say these things, and so they become easily accepted when a certain definition is applied to them. Manifesting removes Allah. Now, before someone panics and says, yeah, but I manifest for good things and Allah allows it, so I haven't removed Allah. When you manifest, basically, you're saying, I know what's best for me. I'm going to manifest it. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. There's a problem there. So what if it does not come to fruition because Allah is stopping it? So now who has the ultimate power? Your manifestation in the universe or Allah? So why go outside of the deen to try to find answers of these fake mysteries of the universe that are non-existent, demonic in their origin from the Western side, and pagan in their origin from the Eastern side? Somebody commented on my video and says, Islam is behind. You guys are not up to date yet. Energy has helped me. Energy is from Allah. I now pray 5 times, and shaitan is hiding it from Islam. I don't think I need to kind of give a rebuttal to that statement. I think that should be pretty self-explanatory, how to respond to that. The Prophet ﷺ never manifested for Islam to be widespread. He never manifested to be abundantly rich, or rich not by money sense, but to be comfortable, because he did go through a struggle. He never manifested for food or victory in the wars that he went to. You have asbab. If you want a tree to grow in your backyard, what do? You sit there and say, tree, 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 tree. You go plant a seed. You have asbab. When you want a child, you get married. When you remove the asbab, you remove the dependence and reliance on Allah. You just sit there and say, think, and you can create it. So a few highlights on yoga. You focus on the sun. There's a lot of animal poses. It contradicts Tawheed. Unify with the universal soul, which is God or the energy, however you want to define that. It is a universal religion, so it removes Islam, Christianity. Everybody can become, this new age philosophy. We accept everybody. You can be whatever you want. I mean, God, there's no one specific road to get to God. However you deem fit, so long as you're being a good person, right? Then that's okay. What is the end result of embracing this ideology? I explained this before 2-3 times. Wahdat al-wujud, being one with the Creator, that the Creator and the creation are one. This contradicts even basic verses in the Quran of where Allah is. Right, and that's it. I'm going to end it there. We did have to skip through a bit. If you guys want to go further on your own, by all means, you can look up Kundalini Yoga. Not everybody practices it, but it is a form. It's done by quite a few people. And it is super demonic entities and things going nuts and possessing you. Ma'adallah. And so with that, I'd like to thank you all. Jazakumullah khair for joining and staying for this long. This was a 2-hour long live of me talking endlessly and you guys listening, I'm hoping patiently. But yeah, this was an interesting topic to me because I find it so widespread today and usually fought back by people. They defend it, and I don't understand why. And I'm trying to understand parts of it. No, we need to understand the mysteries of the universe. We need to understand this hidden secrets, this knowledge that's been forbidden. And if we can understand it, then we can unlock the secrets of the universe and have happiness. And where are you getting this from? This is the problem. I mean, again, Islam is simple. The deen is complete. It's there. There is no secrets to be unraveled. Yes, the deen is there, but what may seem as a secret is only because we have not approached and read the Quran or understood it. And for example, the Quran says Allah is the creator. To some guy living in a mountain who's never been approached by anybody in the world, this may be a secret to them, right? Because they've never heard of this. But it's not a secret. He just hasn't read the book. Once he reads the Quran, he'll say, okay, Allah is the creator. It's not a secret anymore. It's not a secret. There are none of this mysticism and secrets in the religion. If there was a secret in the religion, that would mean that the knowledge is hidden. If the knowledge is hidden, then the deen is flawed. Because al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum does not apply anymore. And so you've contradicted the Quran. And so you've brought the whole thing into ambiguity and doubt. And this is problematic. You need to understand that we have yaqeen in our deen. We have a trust in Allah. We have a firm belief that the Quran is complete, that the deen is complete, that there is nothing to be added or to be removed. There is no secrets and mysticisms in the Quran or in the Sunnah. Whatever is there is clear. Al-haq bayin. Haq, the truth, the ultimate righteousness is clear and it is out there. And it's not secret. It would not be fair even if you wanted to go down that route. By Allah, ma'adallah, al-adl, the one who is all just, to keep things from certain people that they cannot get access to it. It's like, oh no, you weren't able to, contact this thing or open up your chakras to understand the real world, and so therefore, you miss out on the goodies. It doesn't work that way. Allah is all fair. The deen is there. The Quran is in most of our houses, if not on our phones. We have it there. We have the ability to read it. And subhanAllah, with today's internet and technology, I mean, you've heard these preachers talk about the same thing over and over again. We have access to all this information. You can go on Google, you can go on whatever platform you want, type out the hadith or the sunnah or the tafsir, through all the different mufassirin, through all the different fuqaha, through all the different scholars of the deen. What have they said? What has the sahaba said? What has the isnad? What have the tabi'een said? This is all there. But we don't look for that. Instead, we wait for some person to show up on YouTube or an article in a magazine or some scientific discovery to give us our affirmation in our deen, or if not, give us an explanation of what we don't understand, because we have not understood our deen, we have not approached our deen the way it should be understood and the way it should be approached. And so we have this void, and this void needs to be filled. And so somebody comes and sells you on that void. What about incense and black frankincense to burn in your home? What about it? You mean like bakhur and stuff? I don't think there's an issue with bakhur. Candles is a whole different, I mean, it's not about haram and halal, but candles are used in some of the yoga practices, and it's to do with Hindu temples, and there's a whole thing with candles, but I don't think it's necessarily haram. But I don't personally see an issue with bakhur, but again, I'm not the guy to ask for fatwas on halals and harams. There's people who know infinitely more than me, and they would be your best contact. Our Prophet wore a stone in a ring. Okay. Yes, it is. I will try to put the link here. This is about, thank you, Luna. How do I find the bio? Oh, Jazakumullah khair. Yeah, the the Telegram link is in my TikTok bio. I think it's also in the YouTube bio and whatever other social media. I think there's an Instagram bio. So it's in there. Click it. More than welcome to join. We have these open discussions. And we can take it over there, inshallah. Hypnotherapy, nope. I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that. Again, you're opening yourself up for demonic possession by allowing these entities to have access to you, because you have emptied your mind and you've emptied your soul, and you've said, come and take me. And now I told you, forgive me, I explained in the beginning from the Western side that the jinn that was speaking to that through that channeler in Phoenix, Arizona, to Esther and Jerry Hicks, told them, in order for you to expedite or to bring, let me find the words. Let me find the words. 1 second. The jinn told them, if I can find this. Oh no, I've lost my paper. Ah, here we go. The jinn told them to use affirmations. Where is it? To use affirmations, which are the mantras, and to meditate. That's what he told them. No, stones don't give you energy. Again, if you think the stone is giving you energy, what is energy? Where did you come up with this? Why does it exist? What's its origins? And I just tried to cover the origins of this concept of energy, the ki and the chi, and the duality and the cosmic energies of the universe, based on Taoism, Hinduism, Sikhism, and Buddhism. These are all pagan religions. We have Islam from Allah, through the Prophet ﷺ, that is clear, that is concise, that is complete, and that is answering everything that we need to have answered within our life. Whatever is beyond that, from alim al-ghayb, only Allah knows it. We do not dabble, we do not mess around with that. We don't need to seek out answers from alternate religions or belief systems that are pagan, that are kufr, that are shirk, some of them are demonic, like I kind of tried to explain through this 2-hour discussion. We don't need to go there. We shouldn't go there. Not that we don't need to. We should not go there, because then we're saying, well, the deen is not, it's not enough. We need more. If you research Abrahamics, research Abrahamics. But anyways, I think that's it. Satan is an enemy to you, so take him as an enemy. He only invites his party to be among the compare. Of course. I mean, that's the whole thing. The guy is sitting there. He's been around for however long, since before Adam alayhi salam, and his only goal, his only purpose in life is to mess you and me up by deviating us off the straight path. Now, the shaitan doesn't he can just come straight up and say, all right, just go do the bad thing. But sometimes that bad thing, if the bad thing was ugly to you, by default, you wouldn't want to do it. Yani, if you notice ads, and this is in the States a lot, they usually push these ads out for casinos. I don't know if they do it in the UK. But on public television they'll push out ads for casinos, and those casinos are always shown as There's beautiful women, and there's extravagant life, and there's cars and fancy watches and gold, and everybody's smiling, and they're all drinking, and they're all just having a good time, and everybody's winning. Go to a casino. Don't go to a casino. Stand outside a casino and wait for the losers to come out. Drunks, they stink. They've not known how to use the bathroom correctly. Azzakumullah, you know what I mean? And they look miserable. Now, if that were sold, nobody would go to a casino. Nobody would be interested. That's a scam. I mean, look at that. Who would ever want to do that? But they sell you on زَيِّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانَ أَعْمَالُهُم. And the shaitan beautified their actions. Says, look, this is fun. Everybody's having a good laugh. You could make some money. Don't worry about it. It's all good, etc., etc. So it always comes off as something beautiful. Because if it was something ugly by default, nobody would want it. We would reject it. We would push it away. Because we are attracted by default, by our fitrah, to beautiful things. Be it in physical, in spiritual, in cosmetics, in aesthetics, in everything. We always want the beautiful thing. We always want the nice thing. Now, that's subjective, but nevertheless, we always look for something beautiful that resonates with how we see beauty. SubhanAllah. Barakallah fikum, everyone, for joining and listening. And inshallah, I'll catch you guys next time. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.